Hello, my name is Bob. Welcome to a short stop on pool. This week's rack of the week is another old one. And by old, I mean a little over a year ago. This is the gold crown table with 5-inch pockets that you saw last week. But this week, we have to deal with a rack that doesn't open well and a rebreak situation. So that's kind of fun. So let's get into the rack. I have a very low break shot to begin this rack. And if you'll notice, the tangent line takes the cue ball into the center or just below the center of the 8 ball in the corner of the rack. And I'm using straight draw. Watch the cue ball. The cue ball actually hits the 8 ball, goes below the rack, and then the draw takes and it brings it back above the rack. A power draw on a break shot like this kills the speed of the cue ball, and it keeps it under control. And of course, it does cool little tricks sometimes, as you just saw. And there's something else to be said about this break shot. Let's go back and take a look in slow motion. When you're hitting a corner ball that's low on the rack, you're generally not going to get a wide spread of the balls. So take a look at which balls move when the rack is struck. It's these 3 corner balls of the rack, and the 10 ball has moved the farthest from the rack because it received the most energy directly along the bottom row of balls. The 8 ball had to carry them off the 14 before it could move. Then you see a little bit of separation from some other balls in the rack, and the 10 ball comes off the side rail back to the rack. Now sometimes that will open up those balls more. In this case, it knocked 2 balls back into the rack. But you can see the 8 ball is the ball that had the second most amount of energy and traveled the second farthest. Now you could also shoot that break shot with a stun stroke instead of drawing the ball, in the hopes that the cue ball would stay below the rack, and you'll probably have 1 or 2 shots to choose from below the rack. However, with that stun shot, if you hit the bottom corner of the rack too thin, that cue ball can get loose. And that's the reason why I prefer the draw stroke. Not because it does fancy tricks, but because it slows the cue ball down and keeps it more under control. Regardless, our rack analysis at this point is really simple. We have 1 shot to choose from. That's the 12 in the side. We have 9 balls clustered in the center of the table. There's no sense at looking at any break shots, potential break shots for the next rack. We need to re-break the rack, and we need to get on a re-break shot within 1 to 2 shots. One option would be to play for an angle on the 8 ball and then send the cue ball into the top of that stack of balls. That's a pretty good option. You'd be really likely to come away with a shot if you can hit it well, but it's a pretty difficult shot, and you've got to hit that 8 ball cleanly because you're going to hit it with a lot of force, and you don't want it to rattle in the pocket. Another option is to use the 8 ball to get an angle on the 10 to go into the bottom of the rack. And the reason why I don't like that is it's a very small target, and you're going to lose the cue ball, and you might not open up the rack very well. Imagine if the 7 and 11 ball were each a little bit to the side, the 11 to the left and the 7 to the right. Then you'd have more of a catcher's mitt, and you'd have more of a pocket for the cue ball to enter, and it would get stunned by a few balls and wouldn't travel very far and would open that pack. Then that would be a much better option. Fortunately, and I'm sure many of you have already noticed, the 7 ball goes in the bottom left corner pocket. So all I got to do is get the cue ball below the 2 where I can see the 7, right where I'm pointing now, and there I've got a catcher's mitt that's going to keep the cue ball under control, and I'm likely to open up the entire cluster with 1 shot. This re-break shot is very similar to the initial break shot that starts a rack. I'm focusing on pocketing the object ball, stay down on the shot, and put a nice, firm, smooth stroke. And just trust that the cue ball is going to open the rack and end up nicely. Normally I might have aimed very high on the cue ball with a strong follow stroke, but in this case I just did kind of a stun forward. Once again, I'm just trying to keep that ball under control. This is a pretty slick table. Those balls opened up really well, and that makes the rack analysis from this point pretty easy. I've got 2 potential break shots, the 3 and the 13, and either one of those could be the key ball for the other. I kind of like that option as well, so that's open. The balls are wide open. I have had 2 balls up table, the 5 and the 6. Pretty obvious that you can get all kinds of angles on the 5 ball to gain position on the 6 and then use the 6 to come back down table. I think that shooting this 14 ball and going up table to get the 5 and 6 right now is a good option, and that's because there's so many balls left down table. You're going to be able to get on your break shot, and you've got 3 balls, the 1, 11, and the 15, to play position on. Anywhere from center table, you're going to have a shot on one of those 3 balls. I think that my focus in this rack went to the 2 ball. It's kind of a little bit trapped by those balls around it, and I wanted to get on that. And the 1 ball is above the 13, and that's either a really good key ball if I have a good K2 ball for it, or it's a trouble ball that I want to get rid of early. For that reason, I play for a low angle on the 10 to come where I just pointed. I want to come past the 11 ball. That's going to give me a shot on either the 2 or the 3 ball to get on the 2. So I'm attacking those balls rather than choosing to go up table at this time. I didn't get the angle that I pointed at, but I do have a shot on the 2 ball. And at first I'm wondering, geez, where am I going to go from here? And then it occurs to me that I could manufacture another break ball by drawing the cue ball into the 9, and I have the 15 as an insurance ball right there. So I think this is a real high percentage play. And I don't get a break ball with the 9, but that's okay. I don't need it. I've got the 3 or the 13. So now I just want to come back to center table and play the 11 and the 9. Now in hindsight, I think I should have done a little bit more thought at this point. I come short on my position. I don't get straight on the 11, which means I can't get to the 9 ball from the 11 very easily. But maybe it would have been better to play position for the 5, because I still have the 1 and the 11 to come down table from the 6. Boy, I'd like to think that today I would have made the smarter play. But regardless, so I can't shoot the 11, so now I'm deciding between the 3 or the 13 and how I want to run these remaining balls. You can see me pacing back and forth. So I'm going to the 11, and then I'll probably shoot the 3 or the 13 next. Yeah. So you can see by not going up table, I've really limited my options, because now the pattern has to be 3, 9, and then use the 1 ball to go up table, or shoot the 3 and the 9, and then the 5, 6, and now I'm playing position from the 6 to the 1, and I really made things more difficult for myself by doing that. Okay, so I've got a good shot on the 9. I'm coming to take a look. Do I want to go to the 1 now or the 5? And it's an obvious choice. The 5 is a huge target zone. On a shot like this, I'm using the side pockets as a speed gauge. So I'm telling myself, as long as I come just past the side pockets, I'm going to be fine. Even if the cue ball rolls a little bit too far, I can bounce the cue ball off the side rail and get good on the 6. Now I come over and take a look. I want to make sure that I get a good angle on that 6. I don't want to be very straight. I want to hit the 6 ball softly so I can get good control getting on that 1 ball. This is a good angle. You can go 1 rail or 2 rails, and I think I was hoping for the 2 rails because that's what I do shoot. The 1 rail route is pretty hard to control. It can be done, of course. The 2 rail route is much more predictable. Just put a lot of left English on it, come to center table, and I'm almost guaranteed to have an outside angle. That is, I don't want to be straight in, and I don't want to be to the right side of the 1. I want to be on the left side. And that's what doing this gives me. As it turns out, I'm a little bit thin, and this is a really fast table, so this is a shot that you need in your arsenal. This is similar, actually, to the break shot of this rack. I'm shooting with a low cue ball, but a very soft stroke. So the draw is going to slow the cue ball down, but you want to use a short bridge and hit it softly. You're just aiming for center pocket and slow that cue ball down. See how softly the 1 ball traveled to the pocket? And if you know me, you know that this is my favorite break shot. Low outside English and hit it hard. The cue ball is going to go 2 rails out of the corner and get a pretty good spread on the balls. Watch the right English take on that 2nd rail. Look at the cue ball go. I like that. It gets the cue ball in the open, I feel, most of the time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found that informative and helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Check out my book, A Short Stop on Straight Pool. You can find it at shortstoponpool.com. And stay tuned for next week's Rack of the Week.